All right, so I'm Alex. What's your name? Asta. Nice to meet you.
Joseph.
Joseph. Nice handwritten, man. What's your name? Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Go by Alex.
You're Alex, and your name?
Holly.
Holly.
Nice to meet you, Alex. Okay, so Alex, if you could start off today just by telling us a little bit about yourself, please.
Certainly. A couple of things about myself is that a lot of people, my friends, would usually say that I'm very empathetic, very self-aware in terms of detail, and very accountable towards my actions.
Thank you.
Good answer.
Very good answer. So, what do you know about what do you know about our agency or program? So the program that you're looking to apply for.
The agency that I'm looking to apply for is Ava's Initiatives, which is a nonprofit in Toronto that works with homeless youth to give them life skills so that they can be prepared for employment and for the future.
What did you do to prepare for this interview today?
I prepared by talking myself into the mirror. I prepared by looking over my resume, as well as going over notes of what would be the best options or answers for the interviewers.
It's a good way to do it. I like it.
So, what interests you in a field placement at the agency that you mentioned? Sorry, it was
Ava's Initiatives.
Initiative. So, what interests you in that agency to do your placement there?
I'm very interested in working at Ava's Initiatives because when I was back in 2011, because back when I was in the community worker program, I was introduced to Ava's Initiatives, which was about the program. And I felt the thing about a lot of homeless youth is that I feel like, not to say that they have it the worst off, but that there's a lot of struggles that they obviously deal with. And I feel like that would be excellent in terms of gaining skills to working with those youth of how to get through their whatever they're dealing with at the time. Just a new experience, basically in summary. But another answer that I would say would be that it's kind of always something kind of like, I don't know, because for me, for example, I live in a middle upper class family, and to me, I feel a bit too privileged to live under that compared to someone who is lower middle class who doesn't get the same opportunities that I do. So I just want to give back to sort of that community.
What strengths do you have that would be relevant to the work that we do in this setting? So in a situation, action, result, answer, for example, I worked in a children's summer camp, and when campers had to transition from the mess hall to the morning activity, I found that if we sang songs as a team, they made the transition from one space to another more easily. This helped the children to feel less anxious, and I was in control of the group tone. This helped me to understand that I could plan activities on the spot. So do you have any situations that are relevant that go into a situation, action, result that relies on the strengths?
In terms of a community setting, or in terms of just in a general setting of the residential services?
In terms of anything that you would feel relevant into this field.
One instance, or a couple of instances that I know that usually involves with working residential services is that you're going to be working a lot in terms of crisis intervention. One placement, though, that is not on that resume, because I don't think it was good, but that's beside the point. There was one instance where there was an individual who basically came in and just violently pummeled a guy. And I think in terms of that instance, I would say that I remained calm during that instance, and I was able to identify the individual to the police. Because usually most people in those instances would not be able to identify because it was so much to take in. And in terms of mostly being assertive, I guess, as well, just not letting your emotions break you, keeping your composure, as well as keeping an upbeat, positive attitude.
So what are some things that you think you bring to a team environment?
A couple of things that I bring to the team environment is humor. The second one is, I would say, like, clear communication. So, like, I would be the one to, like, ask questions. So if there was something that was very vague, I would, like, bring it up and be like, okay, is this what you meant by that? And do you want this on this particular day in this format or whatever, such as that, so.
Good, I like it.
Alex, can you tell us how the Child and Family Services Act applies to child and youth worker students?
Yes, it applies to child and youth worker students in the sense that as child and youth workers, we are obligated to report on suspected child abuse or a child that may be in domestic settings, or if the caretaker is under under a use of substance, and whether they are trying to harm themselves or harm others.
Thank you very much. Can you tell me about a time that you had conflict with someone, and what did you do using the situation action resolved?
I spoke in a very calm manner. I asked there was one instance where I was working at Skyworks where my supervisor didn't like the way that I counted the survey forms. So then what I asked for him was, I basically asked what he was asking for, like, okay, is this what you meant by this, like counting them by, I can't remember how exactly I counted it, but I remember it was a totally different form from the way he wanted it. So I basically asked what he wanted me to do versus what my challenge is with that, saying, okay, I understand you, however, I have a hard time doing this, and basically address my concerns in a calm, and then we were able to agree to disagree.
Did you find that beneficial on your part?
Slightly, yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
How would, if I were to talk to Jim, how do you think he would describe you?
Jim would describe me as very just give me a moment, sorry.
Do you want to come back to this question?
No, that's fine. He would describe me in the sense that I'm determined and that I'm actually here to come to this program because I'm ready to become a child and youth worker, and that I'm able to serve the community.
Perfect. How would a classmate from a group project describe you?
Empathetic, humorous, kind.
Why do you think that we should accept you as a field placement student?
I feel that you should accept me as a field placement student because I believe that I have a lot of skills that go with the job requirements, such as being assertive, such as being light in tone in times of situations where it's pretty dark and in crisis, and a lot of times and being able to know what the needs of the youth are. For example, I believe it was a class assignment, but there was an assignment that I did, which was an advocacy referral, which I believe it was in Hungary, where it was an area in which being homosexual was being discriminated against, and that this person's life was being threatened. And this was an example, by the way, but not real. But so then what we did, me and my partner, was that we went through the process. Okay, you have to get a visa, and then you have to talk about, like, okay, you can only leave the country if you feel that your life is threatened. So I know a lot about the legalities of it that I also think that would apply to a residential setting, and that is my answer.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for us?
Yes, a couple of questions. One, actually a couple. One, do you provide training for CPI and MOAN?
That is one thing that we do.
Okay.
This agency, with all of our staff should be
Mhm.
able to perform whatever duties that they need to.
Sure.
For whatever reason, if they are to be left over, they should be able to take away these situations.
Sure. Second is, what is an average day like? And third, I would say, who would be my supervisor during my placement?
Okay, so your role as a CY or a child and youth care practitioner student, practicum student, is to learn and fulfill all the needs that you need to do, right? When you go into practicum, we're gonna set your days up as your learning contract has as well. So not only are you going to be working with children and youth, but we're also going to be helping you fulfill your learning contract as well. So your day could be, depending on if you get into the residential or if you get into community, depending which one you get into first. Residential is one thing, community is completely different.
Yeah.
So there's programs, there's day treatment programs, so wherever you go, everything will be based around you and your learning contract. As for supervisors, we all work on a team, as a team. There's no one superior or beneath us, we're all equals, so we're all gonna be known as your mentors and supervisors.
Sure.
Do you have any other questions for us?
No, just a clarification, that community worker experience was only related to like my past experience, but the reason why I obviously took child and youth worker was so I could gain that residential experience. I just wanted to clarify that.
Absolutely, and the fact that you're going to be applying the residential is also good because when you're done this practicum, you're going to be well-rounded in the second setting as well. And your third, I hope that you're going to be applying to something else as well. So that way, by the time you graduate, you have an edge on your peers and colleagues, and you'll be more rounded out with experience. And that's a good thing to see. I was just wondering, if you get to the next round of interviews, do you have a list of references we can call?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
A couple would be Alexa Francis Shaw. The second would be Angelo Di Francesco. He was my counselor back in high school. The third would be
That's okay, Alex, it's not that big of a deal. We basically just asked if you had the name written down, you can hand it to us, but
Yeah.
that's great.
I know.
I want to thank you for coming in.
No, thank you. Nice meeting you.
Have a good day.
Thanks. Nice meeting you, Taylor.
Nice meeting you, Alex.
So I just leave the.
You can
Stop
stop
recording.
recording.
All right, cool.